The Euphrates, a river that once nourished the cradle of civilization, is now vanishing at an alarming rate. This unprecedented event has exposed long-lost cities, enigmatic caverns, and eerie sounds resonating from the depths. Could this be a sign of the end times, as some believe? Join us as we explore the warnings the receding Euphrates whispers about humanity's future, and the lessons from our past it echoes. The historical significance. The Euphrates River, spanning an impressive 1,740 miles, holds a profound place in history as the longest river in Western Asia. Originating in the mountains of eastern Turkey, the river has been a witness to the rise and fall of some of the world's oldest civilizations. The Euphrates, along with its twin river, the Tigris, gave birth to the Fertile Crescent, a region often referred to as the cradle of civilization. It was here, along the banks of the Euphrates, that the Sumerians, one of the earliest known civilizations, flourished around 4000 BCE. They developed a complex system of irrigation, allowing them to cultivate crops in the arid region and establish the world's first cities, such as Uruk and Ur. The Sumerians also invented the wheel, revolutionizing transportation and commerce, and created the first written language, cuneiform, which laid the foundation for the development of literature and recorded history. As time passed, other mighty empires arose along the Euphrates, including the Assyrians and the Babylonians. The Babylonians, in particular, left an indelible mark on history with their legendary city, Babylon, which straddled the Euphrates River. It was here that King Hammurabi created one of the world's earliest legal codes, the Code of Hammurabi, which set a precedent for the rule of law and greatly influenced subsequent legal systems. For thousands of years, Euphrates has been a source of life, sustenance, and inspiration for countless generations. It has shaped the course of empires, nurtured the growth of agriculture and trade, and served as a backdrop for some of humanity's most enduring stories and beliefs. Geography and ecosystem. The Euphrates River embarks on a remarkable journey, traversing over 1,500 miles from its source in the mountains of eastern Turkey to its terminus in the Persian Gulf. Along the way, it crosses through Syria and Iraq, shaping the landscape and supporting a diverse array of ecosystems. The river begins its journey at an elevation of around 10,000 feet above sea level, fed by melting snow from the mountains. As it descends from the highlands, the Euphrates carves its way through rugged gorges and steep canyons, creating a series of rapids and waterfalls. The river's flow is greatly affected by seasonal variations, with the highest water levels occurring in the spring due to snowmelt and the lowest levels in the late summer and early fall. As the Euphrates enters the lowlands of Mesopotamia, it slows its pace and begins to meander, creating a wide, fertile floodplain known as the Fertile Crescent. This region, which also includes the Tigris River, is characterized by rich alluvial soils deposited by the rivers during their annual floods. These floods, which typically occur between April and June, are crucial for replenishing the soil's nutrients and supporting the region's agriculture. The Euphrates River is home to a diverse array of plant and animal life, adapted to the unique conditions of the river and its surrounding ecosystem. The river supports over 50 species of fish, including the Mesopotamian barbel and the Euphrates softshell turtle. Along its banks, the river creates a lush green corridor in an otherwise arid landscape, with willows, poplars, and reeds thriving in the moist soil. The Mesopotamian marshes, located in southern Iraq, are a prime example of the Euphrates River's ecological importance. These wetlands, which once covered an area of over 7,700 square miles, are home to a wide variety of bird species, including the marbled duck and the Basra reed warbler. The marshes also support unique communities, such as the marsh Arabs, who have adapted their way of life to the ebb and flow of the Euphrates for thousands of years. Unfortunately, the Euphrates River's ecosystem has faced significant challenges in recent decades. The construction of dams and irrigation projects and increased water extraction for agriculture and urban development have greatly reduced the river's flow and altered its natural flooding patterns. Human impact on the Euphrates River. The Euphrates River has been a cradle for human civilization for thousands of years, with ancient settlements and cities flourishing along its banks. However, as human populations have grown and technology has advanced, the river has experienced significant changes and challenges. One of the earliest human impacts on the Euphrates River was the development of irrigation systems by ancient civilizations, such as the Sumerians and Babylonians. These societies constructed complex networks of canals and levees to divert water from the river and distribute it to their fields, enabling them to cultivate crops in the arid region. While these irrigation systems allowed for the growth of agriculture and the rise of cities, they also began to alter the river's natural flow patterns. Over time, human interventions on the Euphrates River have become more extensive and far-reaching. In the 20th century, the construction of large-scale dams and hydroelectric power projects has greatly impacted the river's flow and ecosystem. The Ataturk Dam, completed in 1990 in southeastern Turkey, is one of the largest dams in the world, standing at a height of 554 feet and creating a reservoir that covers an area of over 300 square miles. While dams like the Ataturk provide important benefits such as electricity generation and flood control, they also disrupt the river's natural flow, alter its sediment transport, and create barriers to fish migration. The sharing of the Euphrates River's waters among the countries it passes through has also been a source of tension and dispute. In 1923, the Treaty of Lausanne divided the river's waters between Turkey, Syria, and Iraq, with each country given the right to exploit the river's resources within its borders. However, as water demands have increased due to population growth and agricultural expansion, conflicts have arisen over the allocation and use of the river's waters. In recent years, the construction of new dams and irrigation projects, particularly in Turkey, has led to reduced water flow downstream, causing concern for Syria and Iraq. The Southeastern Anatolia Project GAP, a massive regional development project in Turkey that includes the construction of 22 dams and 19 hydroelectric power plants, has been a particular source of tension. Syria and Iraq have argued that the GAP reduces their water supply and threatens their agricultural and economic interests. The Euphrates River faces an uncertain future as climate change and increasing water demands put further pressure on its resources. Rising temperatures and changing precipitation patterns are expected to reduce the river's flow and increase the frequency and severity of droughts in the region. At the same time, population growth and economic development are driving up water consumption, leading to the over-extraction of the river's waters for irrigation, industry, and urban use. The drying up of the Euphrates River. In recent years, the once mighty Euphrates River has been facing an unprecedented crisis. Its waters are rapidly disappearing. The river, which has been the lifeblood of civilizations for thousands of years, is now a shadow of its former self, with its diminished flow causing alarm among environmentalists, local communities, and governments alike. Several factors have contributed to the Euphrates River's decline. Climate change, characterized by rising temperatures and decreasing rainfall, has led to more frequent and severe droughts in the region. In the last decade alone, the river's flow has decreased by over 50%, with some sections of the riverbed completely dry during the summer months. Moreover, the river's waters have been heavily exploited for agriculture, industry, and urban development. The construction of massive dams and irrigation projects, particularly in Turkey, has diverted a significant portion of the river's flow, reducing the amount of water that reaches downstream countries like Syria and Iraq. The Ataturk Dam, for example, has a storage capacity of over 10 trillion gallons of water, enough to submerge the entire state of Connecticut under 1 foot of water. The consequences of the Euphrates River drying up are far-reaching and devastating. The river's ecosystem, which once supported a rich diversity of plant and animal life, is now on the brink of collapse. Fish populations have plummeted, with some species facing extinction, while the lush wetlands and marshes that once thrived along the river's banks have turned into barren, salt-encrusted wastelands. For the millions who depend on the Euphrates River for their livelihoods, the impacts have been catastrophic. Farmers, who have relied on the river's waters to irrigate their crops for generations, are now struggling to maintain their yields, with many forced to abandon their fields altogether. In Syria and Iraq, where agriculture accounts for a significant portion of the economy, the loss of the Euphrates River's waters has led to widespread poverty and food insecurity. The drying of the Euphrates River has also had a profound impact on the region's water supply. In some areas, the river's waters have become so polluted and saline that they are no longer safe for human consumption. In others, the lack of water has forced communities to rely on groundwater reserves, which are rapidly being depleted. In Iraq, for example, the water crisis has led to the displacement of over 10,000 people, with many more at risk of being forced from their homes. As the Euphrates River continues to shrink, the potential for conflict and geopolitical tensions is growing. The river's waters are a critical resource for the countries it passes through, and as supplies dwindle, competition for access is becoming increasingly fierce. In recent years, Turkey's dam-building projects have become a source of tension with downstream countries, with Syria and Iraq accusing Turkey of hoarding water and threatening their water security. The Euphrates River in biblical prophecy. For those who study the Bible, the Euphrates River is more than just a physical landmark. It is a symbol of great spiritual significance. The river is mentioned in both the Old and New Testaments, and its role in biblical prophecy has long been a subject of fascination and interpretation. In the book of Genesis, the Euphrates is described as one of the 4 rivers that flowed from the Garden of Eden, the paradise created by God for Adam and Eve. The river's association with Eden has led some scholars to interpret it as a symbol of divine blessing and abundance, a source of life-giving water that sustains and nourishes all who draw from it. However, it is in the book of Revelation, the final book of the New Testament, that the Euphrates River takes on a more ominous and apocalyptic significance. According to Revelation 16:12, the 6th angel pours out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, causing its waters to dry up and prepare the way for the kings of the east to march their armies toward the final battle of Armageddon. The drying up of the Euphrates River is seen by many biblical scholars as a sign of the end times, a precursor to the ultimate confrontation between good and evil. Some interpret the kings of the East as a reference to the nations of Asia, particularly China, which is predicted to play a significant role in the events leading up to the second coming of Christ. But the Euphrates River's role in biblical prophecy does not end there. In Revelation 9:14, angels who have been bound at the great river Euphrates are released, unleashing a massive army of 200 million horsemen who will kill a third of mankind. The scale of this destruction is almost unimaginable, with billions of people predicted to perish in the ensuing carnage. The identity of these 4 angels and the nature of their army have been the subject of much speculation and debate among biblical scholars. Some interpret them as demonic forces, while others see them as a metaphor for the destructive power of human armies and weapons of mass destruction. As the Euphrates River continues to dry up in the present day, many Christians are watching with a sense of anticipation and trepidation, wondering if the prophecies of Revelation are beginning to unfold before their eyes. Some point to the river's diminishing flow as a sign that the end times are near, while others caution against reading too much into current events and urge a more cautious and nuanced approach to biblical interpretation. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. Something terrifying is happening with the drying Euphrates River. The receding Euphrates River has exposed a 4,000-year-old structure without any entrance, but its walls are riddled with curious holes that might have been designed for ventilation. Inside the ruins, researchers have reportedly discovered unusual humanoid bones that don't appear to be human. Could these bones belong to extraterrestrial or superior beings that ancient Sumerians mentioned in their texts? What do you think about this discovery? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. The Euphrates River in Islamic prophecy. Just as the Euphrates River holds a significant place in biblical prophecy, It also occupies a prominent role in Islamic eschatology. In the Islamic tradition, the river is associated with the end times and the final battles that will precede the Day of Judgment. According to Islamic prophecy, the Euphrates River will one day uncover a mountain of gold, which will become a source of great temptation and conflict for humanity. The Prophet Muhammad is reported to have said, "The hour will not come to pass before the river Euphrates dries up to unveil the mountain of gold for which people will fight. 99 out of every 100 will die in the fighting, and every one among them will say, 'Perhaps I may be the only one to remain alive.'" This prophecy suggests that the drying up of the Euphrates River will trigger a massive global conflict as nations and individuals vie for control of the uncovered wealth. Some Islamic scholars interpret the mountain of gold as a metaphor for the wealth and resources that will become accessible as the river's waters recede, while others take it as a literal prediction of a physical treasure that will be revealed. The Euphrates River is also associated with the appearance of the Dajjal, an evil figure in Islamic eschatology, who is often compared to the Antichrist in Christian theology. According to some traditions, the Dajjal will emerge from the east and lead an army across the Euphrates River as part of his campaign to deceive and mislead humanity. In response to the Dajjal's advance, the Mahdi, a messianic figure in Islamic prophecy, is predicted to appear and lead the faithful in a great battle against the forces of evil. This battle, known as the Battle of Dabik, or the Battle of Armageddon, is expected to take place near the Euphrates River and will mark a decisive turning point in the struggle between good and evil. The exact location of this battle is a matter of some debate among Islamic scholars. Some point to the town of Dabik in northern Syria as the prophesied site, while others suggest that it may take place closer to the Euphrates River itself. Regardless of the specific location, the battle is seen as a prelude to the final judgment, when the righteous will be rewarded and the wicked will be punished. Archaeological discoveries in the dried-up riverbed. Something terrifying is happening with the drying Euphrates River. The drying up of the riverbed has exposed previously submerged ancient cities, temples, and artifacts, providing an unprecedented opportunity for archaeologists to study and understand the rich history of the region. One of the most significant discoveries in recent years has been the uncovering of a 3,400-year-old city in the Mosul Dam Reservoir in northern Iraq. The city, which dates back to the time of the Mitanni Empire, was once a thriving center of trade and commerce, with grand palaces, temples, and fortified walls. The city's remains were first discovered in 2018, when drought caused the reservoir's water levels to drop by more than 20 feet, exposing the ancient ruins. Since then, archaeologists have been working tirelessly to excavate and document the site before rising water levels submerge it once again. They have uncovered a wealth of artifacts, including intricate clay tablets, ornate pottery, and exquisite jewelry that provide a glimpse into the daily lives of the city's inhabitants. One of the most remarkable finds has been a well-preserved palace complex, featuring a grand courtyard and a throne room adorned with colorful frescoes and intricate carvings. Another significant discovery has been the uncovering of the Bronze Age city of Zahiku, located in the Kamune excavation site in northern Iraq. The city, which dates back to around 1800 BCE, was once a major center of the Mitanni Kingdom, a powerful empire that dominated the region for centuries. The city's remains were first discovered in 2012, when the Mosul Dam Reservoir was drained for maintenance, exposing the ancient ruins. Since then, archaeologists have been working to excavate and study the site, uncovering a wealth of artifacts and structures that provide insight into the city's history and culture. They have discovered a massive fortification wall, measuring over 1,700 feet in length and 22 feet in width, that once protected the city from invaders. They have also uncovered a number of large buildings, including a palace complex and a temple dedicated to the Mitanni god of war. But perhaps the most exciting aspect of these discoveries is the potential for further archaeological findings as the Euphrates River continues to dry up. As more and more of the riverbed is exposed, archaeologists are hopeful that they will uncover even more ancient cities, temples, and artifacts that have been hidden for centuries. Restoration efforts and challenges. The Euphrates River Basin has been the subject of intense restoration efforts in recent years as scientists and conservationists work to undo the damage caused by decades of human activity and neglect. One of the most significant challenges has been the restoration of the Mesopotamian marshes, a vast wetland ecosystem that once covered over 7,700 square miles in southern Iraq. The marshes, which were home to a unique culture of marsh Arabs who had lived in the region for thousands of years, were once a vital source of biodiversity and a key stopover point for migratory birds. However, in the 1990s, Saddam Hussein's regime drained the marshes as part of a campaign to punish the marsh Arabs for their alleged support of the 1991 uprisings against his rule. The draining of the marshes had a devastating impact on the ecosystem, with many species of fish, birds, and plants disappearing from the region. After the fall of Saddam Hussein's regime in 2003, efforts began to restore the marshes and bring back the unique culture and way of life of the marsh Arabs. The restoration project, led by the Iraqi government with support from international organizations such as the United Nations Environment Program, has involved a complex process of reflooding the marshes, removing dams and other barriers to water flow, and working with local communities to develop sustainable management practices. One of the key challenges of the restoration effort has been the need to balance the competing demands of agriculture, industry, and urban development with the need to protect and preserve the natural ecosystem of the marshes. This has required a delicate balancing act as the region's growing population and economy put increasing pressure on the limited water resources of the Euphrates River Basin. Another challenge has been the need to engage and involve local communities, particularly the marsh Arabs, in the restoration and management of the marshes. For centuries, the marsh Arabs have lived in harmony with the natural rhythms of the marshes, developing a unique culture and way of life that is deeply connected to the ecosystem. However, decades of conflict and displacement have taken a toll on these communities, and many have been forced to abandon their traditional way of life and seek work elsewhere. To address this challenge, the restoration project has sought to involve local communities in the planning and implementation of conservation efforts, providing training and support for sustainable farming, fishing, and tourism practices. This has included developing ecotourism initiatives that allow visitors to experience the unique culture and natural beauty of the marshes while supporting local livelihoods. Despite these challenges, the restoration of the Mesopotamian marshes has made significant progress in recent years. Today, more than half of the original marshland area has been reflooded, and the ecosystem is showing signs of recovery, with many species of fish, birds, and plants returning to the region. However, much work remains to be done to ensure the long-term sustainability of the marshes and the communities that depend on them. Scientific research and expeditions. As the Euphrates River Basin faces unprecedented challenges, scientists and researchers from around the world are working to unlock its secrets and find solutions to the complex problems facing the region. Using cutting-edge technologies and innovative research methods, these teams are shedding new light on the history, ecology, and future of this vital resource. One of the most promising avenues of research in the Euphrates River Basin is the use of advanced technologies such as satellite imagery and ground-penetrating radar to study the river basin and its surrounding landscape. These tools enable researchers to map the river basin in unprecedented detail, identifying areas of erosion, sedimentation, and other geomorphological processes that are shaping the landscape over time. For example, a team of researchers from the United States and Iraq recently used high-resolution satellite imagery to map the Mesopotamian marshes, identifying areas of vegetation growth and decline, and changes in water levels and flow patterns. This information is helping scientists better understand the complex dynamics of the marsh ecosystem and develop more effective conservation and restoration strategies. Another area of focus for scientific research in the Euphrates River Basin is the study of archaeological sites and artifacts that have been exposed by the drying up of the river. These sites, which range from ancient cities and temples to burial grounds and agricultural fields, provide a unique window into the history and culture of the region and are helping archaeologists to piece together a more complete picture of the peoples and civilizations that once thrived along the banks of the Euphrates. One of the most significant archaeological expeditions in recent years has been the exploration of the ancient city of located in southern Iraq. The city, which was once a thriving center of commerce and culture, was abandoned around 500 BCE and gradually buried by the shifting sands of the desert. However, in recent years, archaeologists have been able to use ground-penetrating radar and other advanced technologies to map the city's streets, buildings, and tombs, revealing a wealth of new information about life in ancient Mesopotamia. But perhaps the most pressing area of scientific research in the Euphrates River basin is the study of the region's ecology and the impacts of human activity on the natural environment. As the river basin faces increasing pressure from climate change, population growth, and economic development, scientists are working to understand the complex interactions between human societies and the natural world, and to develop sustainable solutions to the challenges facing the region. One of the key areas of focus for ecological research in the Euphrates River basin is the study of water quality and quantity, and the impacts of human activities such as agriculture, industry, and urbanization on the river's flow and ecosystem health. Researchers are using advanced monitoring technologies such as sensors and drones to collect data on water temperature, salinity, and nutrient levels, and studying the impacts of dams, irrigation systems, and other infrastructure on the river's hydrology and ecology. The future of the Euphrates River. The once mighty river, which has sustained civilizations for millennia, now faces an uncertain future as the impacts of climate change, population growth, and unsustainable water management practices take their toll. The urgent need for action cannot be overstated. With temperatures rising and rainfall patterns shifting, the Euphrates River basin is becoming increasingly vulnerable to drought, desertification, and other environmental threats. At the same time, the region's growing population is putting ever greater pressure on the river's limited water resources, as demands for agriculture, industry, and urban development continue to rise. To address these challenges, it is essential that the international community come together to develop and implement sustainable water management practices that can help conserve and protect the Euphrates River for generations to come. This will require a concerted effort from all stakeholders, including governments, civil society organizations, and local communities, to find common ground and work towards a shared vision of a more sustainable and resilient future. But the Euphrates River's future is not just about the practical challenges of water management and conservation. It is also about the deeper lessons that we can learn from the river's rich history and cultural significance. For centuries, the Euphrates has been a symbol of life, civilization, and the interconnectedness of humanity and nature. It has shaped the course of empires, inspired great works of art and literature, and provided a source of spiritual and cultural sustenance for countless generations. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.